If you haven't heard of the recent debate at Oxford University on accusations against Israel, it was one of those unique events where the truth of where we're at this point in history was suddenly undeniable. There's one particular point that wasn't really noticed, which tells the whole story. So for about 200 years, Oxford's had a tradition of hosting debates. The objective is always free speech, rigorous exchange. Well, that tradition fell apart last week. The debate was on whether Israel was an apartheid state committing genocide. And on the Israeli side of the debate was an Arab Israeli, Yosef Haddad, and a Palestinian whose father was one of the founders of Hamas, Mossab Hassan Youssef. He's long since relinquished any connections to Hamas. He's lived in Israel, he's served in the Defense Force. And there was an expert in international law, Natasha Hausdorff. Now, Yosef Haddad is a respected journalist in Israel. He's married to a Jewish woman. He's previously served in the Defense Force as a commander. So he was in charge of Jewish soldiers. So he's living proof that there's no apartheid. Natasha Hausdorff, the lawyer, she explained very rationally about the accusation of genocide. There's no evidence. In fact, there's overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Tons of food sent to Gaza, enormous lines of aid trucks, 24/7. Most get hijacked by Hamas because they're greedy criminals. They just don't care about the Palestinians. Medical equipment sent in, treatment. Israel vaccinated 500,000 children in Gaza against polio. So it's really getting quite tiring, this BS about genocide and apartheid. It should have been an open and shut case. It shouldn't have even taken place in the first place. But there were a number of telltale signs that really actually tell us of a bigger problem. The head of Oxford's supposed to be neutral in these debates, and he started taking the side of the accusers. Now, that's unprecedented. It goes against the spirit of the debate completely. Turns out he's an Arab Egyptian who sympathizes with Hamas. Something else was unprecedented in this kind of a debate was that the speakers supporting Israel were verbally attacked in Arabic as well as English, called effing genocidal mother effers, right? Basically accusing them of supporting mass genocide, mass murder. But there was one moment when the truth of the situation all came out. Mossab Hassan Youssef, the son of the Hamas founder, he asked for a show of hands in the audience, who would have alerted the Israeli authorities if they'd known in advance that the October 7th massacre was about to happen. And a very small minority of hands went up. And there was the truth. That audience admitted that they wouldn't have done anything to save their lives. The parents killed in front of their children, families forced to watch their loved ones being mutilated. They would have just sat there and let it happen. The most depraved acts of cruelty, babies burnt in ovens, the kidnapping, the trauma, the grief, the rape. And if the audience at Oxford wouldn't have stopped it, well, you know what that means, right? It means they were obviously kind of glad it happened. They would allow it to happen again. The rot in their souls was exposed. It's all just projection. They're yelling about genocide when what they really want is genocide. The cries about human rights, it's just a facade. To further prove this point, the pro-Israel delegation had to have personal security of 8 bodyguards. 8! So who's the violent party? Well, the accusing side wasn't there to debate. They were there to demonize and dehumanize Israelis. All the reasoning in the world wouldn't have made a difference. For them, the facts are irrelevant. And this is no different to the medieval accusations that Jews drink children's blood and this preposterous crap. These lies were used to justify massacres. And the modern day equivalent is genocide, apartheid, ethnic cleansing, breaking international law. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. The purpose is to justify a massacre, whether in the past or the future. And in that debate, both Yosef Haddad and Mossab Hassan Youssef were removed. Not the audience who were yelling obscenities or expressing support for illegal terrorist groups. 2 men, Arab men, who spoke from experience, who were supporting Israel. That was just too inconvenient for them. There's a sickness in Western society. It's in the universities, the governments, the United Nations, international legal system. It's in the TV studios, the print media. They're all just twisting the truth. A person's stance on Israel is a character test. And I don't mean unconditional support. Rigorous debate is important. But to make outrageous and false accusations, to demonize a tiny democratic state facing jihad dictatorships on every side, and then to support the depravity and cruelty of religious fanatics, well, that person just revealed something about the darkness of their soul. But ironically, Israel's going to be fine. We're crushing our enemies. We're liberating the Middle East from the dictators. New investment in Israel is higher than it's been for years. What's at stake is the West. There are more terrorist attacks in Europe now than in Israel. That Oxford University crowd showed us the truth. There never was a debate about Israel. Not at Oxford, not at Columbia, not anywhere. What it is a challenge to the morality that made Western countries safe and prosperous. Anti-Semitism is just a symptom of a deeper moral rot. So call it out. If you see it on TV, email them. Tell them that they've lost you as a viewer. If it's a politician, tell them they've lost you as a voter. If it's a friend, send them this video. Don't stand by while your society is taken over by scumbags. The only thing needed for evil to succeed is for good men and women to do nothing.